When I was in college, I was a DJ at a disco, and we would play that every fifth song. That's the way.
I was born in the wrong era. I would have loved to have lived then. It would have been so fun to be like 20 at that time period.
Well,
okay, we have a huge show, guys.
That's the way I like it.
That's right. It's not every day that we get to talk to the president, but today we do. He's going to be calling into our show, barring any other emergency that he has to go take care of. But he's committed to our show at 8 o'clock today.
Right. So he used to call in once a week, but he had to wind down because he got a different job.
Exactly right.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, we have plenty to talk to him about.
Yes, we do.
It's been kind of a busy news week, but listen to this. We got a Fox News alert. Didn't see this coming. Wow. A former FBI employee is reportedly under criminal investigation, accused of falsifying documents tied to the surveillance of 2016 Trump campaign staffer, that man in those images, Carter Page.
The alarming development, perhaps a preview of the upcoming report by the DOJ's Inspector General.
Well, doesn't Peter Strzok also work at the FBI? Griff Jenkins is live in Washington with the latest on this breaking story. Griff.
Hey, Brian Ainsley and Steve, good morning. Yeah, look, this revelation, according to the Washington Post, is part of the probe Inspector General Horowitz has been leading into FISA abuse. We will all see his final report, which is coming on December 9th. But here's what the Post uncovered. They write, the Justice Department Inspector General has found evidence that an FBI employee may have altered a document connected to the court-approved surveillance of a former Trump campaign advisor, but has concluded that the conduct did not affect the overall validity of the surveillance application. And Fox News is not confirmed, but multiple reports say that campaign advisor is Carter Page, who you will recall the FBI obtained and renewed several surveillance warrants on him, which is part of the genesis for the Mueller investigation. It's unclear at this point exactly what the employee changed to this so-called document, but it appears it may have been substantial. This all as former Attorney General Jeff Sessions is speaking out.
I support Attorney General Barr's efforts to investigate the predicate, the foundation that was laid to start this investigation. I'm proud that the system is beginning to focus on that, and I'm confident that we'll get to the bottom of it.
And now, after Horowitz releases that December 9th report, he'll testify 2 days later before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and it is possible we could see some of this information in this latest revelation surfacing in Prosecutor John Durham's criminal probe, which you know is into the origins of the Russia probe. It'll be fascinating to see, guys, what the president has to say about this in just a few hours.
Hey, Griff, John Durham's, his investigation is now turned into a full-fledged criminal investigation. Is that why? Because they've discovered this lawyer manipulated key documents?
Well, that's a key question. That's a good question, but we don't know for sure if that's why, but it would certainly not surprise us to see it surface in what Durham produces. So it's going to be a very busy time here in December.
I know, Griff, you usually have to get coffee right now, so can I hold you for one more question?
Sure.
Thanks. This guy worked, or this person worked underneath Peter Strzok. That was left out of the Washington Post story, wasn't it?
Well, listen, there are multiple news organizations reporting on this, and as you know, this is a town that leaks a lot. That is one of the things being alleged, and that certainly would bring Mr. Strzok's name back into this long-running story.
It's interesting. The Washington Post originally reported that he did work under Peter Strzok, or he or she did, and then they retracted that a few hours later around midnight.
Right. So we don't know. Maybe it was wrong.
Correct.
Right. Or
we'll find out. We'll find out.
Or incorrect.
That's right. All right. Griff, thank you very much. And at the same time, while attention is being brought to this person who is a low-level FBI lawyer, according to the Washington Post story that is still up on their website, we've had, that's one thing, but we've also had members of Congress who have suggested that there is growing evidence that people at the FBI changed those 302 witness interview forms as well. That could be something that Mr. Durham is looking into as well. Geraldo was on with Hannity last night and said this news about the FBI, bombshell.
If it is true that they have an FBI agent who has altered documents supporting the FISA warrant on Carter Page, this is huge news that cannot be underemphasized. This is James Comey's FBI. This is the conspiracy theory that has never been told except on this network. Here's an FBI agent, sworn officer, constitutional officer, going to a FISA judge and lying, essentially, altering a document to get the warrant to begin the surveillance of the Trump campaign aide, Carter Page. This is huge news. This is an atomic explosion.
Wow. So obviously, Geraldo Rivera could praise like nobody else. So Michael Horowitz, we know he's going to be up December 11th on Capitol Hill, and we expect his report a few days prior. This is just the beginning of the churn of the other storyline that we've been trying to follow. We're trying to get out of the blocks. Meanwhile, the big story yesterday was the last day of week 2 of the impeachment hearings, featuring David Holmes and Fiona Hill. David Holmes was able to overhear both ends of her conversation with the president and Ambassador Sondland. So he came forward last weekend. He said such compelling things. He was front and center yesterday, along with Fiona Hill, stage left.
Right, and keep in mind what he said, he simply shared his impressions of what Mr. Trump was pushing for as he overheard. And yet the only time he overheard the president mention investigations was on that phone call. And here is a little of the back and forth between Texas's John Ratcliffe and the guy who overheard the phone call. Watch.
You said, you heard President Trump say, is he going to do the investigation? And Ambassador Sondland said he's going to do it. He'll do anything you ask him to. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
What did President Trump say next?
He said, good, what about Sweden?
He said what?
Sir, sorry, I need to look at back where we are in the middle of the conversation here. Where are we from the testimony?
This is
Right, exactly. So then they turned to the Sweden conversation.
And that was about the rapper.
Right. Who he got out. So the president tweeted, I don't want to get the exact tweet out, but eventually saying, I've never heard anyone who can hear both ends of a conversation on a cell phone.
And not on speaker.
That's not on speaker. And for whatever it means, for Lindsey Graham had walked into a radio studio twice talking to the president. I had no idea who he was talking to, and I assume he wasn't whispering. So, and from what I've seen, I have actually never heard clearly both sides of a conversation unless someone was doing this. So the president had some credibility, some questions
Well,
about
I think,
that.
part of the testimony was that Gordon Sondland was holding the phone a little away from his head because the president was talking so loud. That was in his opening statement.
But he didn't seem very familiar with the conversation.
Yeah,
he had
it's
to look
amazing.
down at his notes.
All right,
It wasn't a very long conversation. All right, so then Elise Stefanik, she was exposing Fiona Hill because remember, Fiona Hill left the NSC before this conversation took place on July 25th. Listen to her questioning Fiona Hill.
By the time there was the July 25th call with President Trump and President Zelensky, you were no longer on the NSC.
I was not physically in the building.
And you were not on the call.
I was not on the call. That is absolutely correct.
And the first time you actually read the transcript of the call was when it was released to the public.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's interesting. You know, so that wraps up 12 witnesses. This is all they have scheduled so far. That could have been yesterday, Adam Schiff's closing argument yesterday.
And he looked like he was going to cry.
But he was really revved up. We're going to play some of it for you if you missed it. But there were no bombshells during the entire 12 witnesses because the Democrats had leaked all the good stuff out ahead of time. No one had direct evidence that the President of the United States did anything impeachable, and no one heard him specifically ask for quid pro quo, something for something.
Right. Nancy Pelosi said yesterday that some of these testimonies might lead to more testimonies. So even though we do think this is the end of their questioning witnesses, it might not be based on what she said. She was also asked about, remember in March when she said this needs to be bipartisan? If you're trying to impeach a president, you need to have support on both sides, like every other president's been impeached in the past. She was questioned about it and was a little frustrated. Listen.
There's not bipartisan support.
Well, if the Republicans are in denial about the facts, if the Republicans do not want to honor their oath of office, then I don't think that this we should be characterized as partisan in any way because we are patriotic. So what's your question?
Well, we got the question. The other thing is that the Emerson poll that shows that support for impeachment is dropping. So I don't know if that's going to factor into what, the money for the DNC is dropping. So I'm not sure how long politically it makes sense for Nancy Pelosi to keep pushing. But that's up for us to decide.
Well, she's going
here's my takeaway with Fiona Hill. Fiona Hill's most telling statement was that the Russians love this, that if Hillary Clinton had won, they would have easily done the same subversion to make it seem like she won illegitimately, forcing the other party to go at it. They are benefiting from all this churn and all our divide. And my hope is that we could pull back and see how the puppet strings are being pulled on us by the Russians.
So what happens next? Democrats could draw up these articles of impeachment, bribery, abuse of power, contempt of Congress, obstruction of justice. GOP senators met with the Trump team yesterday, and they all came to a consensus that if it does go to the Senate, and it looks like it will probably, then they will have a full trial.
Right.
And it could be a long trial in order to disrupt 2020.
Yeah. Right. They suggested it would be
primaries.
2 weeks. Look, Nancy Pelosi's in a pickle. because she needs to send it to the Senate because she's got all these people on the left flank of her, and they're threatening to primary leadership and whatnot. And so she's got to have a vote in the House, sending it to the Senate. And that way, when the Senate, and she knows there are no votes there for the Senate enough
But
to
at least
get
she
it there.
can say, we did our job.
Exactly
We
right.
stopped it.
The Senate dropped the ball.
Right.
That will be her argument going to 2020.
Jillian never drops the ball. Hey, Jillian.
Good morning. Good Friday.
Yes.
Let's begin with this story that we're following.
I refuse to be part of an effort to legitimize an alternate narrative that the Ukrainian government is a U.S. adversary and that Ukraine, not Russia, attacked us in 2016.
Certain Ukrainians did work against candidate Trump, some with the DNC. And if that's debunked, why is it Mr. Schiff has denied DNC operative Alexandra Chalupa from testifying to come forward and debunk it?
Former National Security Council official Fiona Hill clashing with our next guest after dismissing that Ukraine interfered in the 2016 election. Here with more House Intelligence Committee member, Ohio Congressman Brad Windstrom. Congressman, did you ever get an answer to that?
Well, not directly, because she got to say some things at the end. Actually, about much of what I said, she surprised me because she said that I said things very eloquently, and I finished with saying that it's time for this Democrat-led, publicly announced coup to come to an end. So I never got a direct answer, but I do think she understood that this is a narrative that she's heard from Adam Schiff. This is not coming from us. We did the report. Devin Nunes held up our report. But what we are saying is that Ukrainians did too. More than one country can try and interfere in our elections. And we were just making that point. And I think she got it at the end of the day.
Congressman, she wrote a great book on Vladimir Putin. No one doubts her intellect. I don't really think her there with a political agenda, so no one wants to put her down at all. But in the big picture, she came out and accused you guys of denying that Russia, or the House Republican, that Russia interfered in our elections. You guys never said that. You know Russia did.
We never said that. No, we never said that, but Adam Schiff has said it over and over and over again. And if you look at her narrative in her opening statement, she said, it's come to my attention through these hearings that some people on this committee have denied that. Well, the only place she's heard it is from Adam Schiff, and it's just one more of the many things that he has done. When I first got on the Intel Committee 3 terms ago, I thought he was a decent guy, but we've just seen too many things happen over and over and over again where he is just playing this, and I think America's tired of it. But unfortunately, she is an expert. Don't get me wrong. I love her expertise, but she was misled on that, and I believe by Mr. Schiff.
So watching a lot of that, listening to a lot of it, 12, 16 hours over the last 3-4 days, over the last 2 weeks, they tried to get Will Hurd, a retiring, sometimes critic of the president, CIA agent. They didn't. According to his comments, didn't love Rudy Giuliani's work in the Ukraine, but not impeachable. Your thought?
Well, I thought that was very key. I thought that, we know where Will stands on so many things, and that's fine. We all have varying opinions, but what we all agree is this is not an impeachable offense here, and at the end of the day, every allegation they've made, quid pro quo, bribery, extortion, nobody has any of that. It's very plain to see what they have been doing for the last 3 years, and it doesn't help their case right now when you look at what they have done for the first 2 years, 2.5 years, and now we have the reports that there's criminal charges coming out of these investigations involving the FBI. It just backs up what we've been saying for a long time. This is an orchestrated attempt to take down a duly elected president.
Lastly, I think America now knows how important it is for us to back the Ukraine. They are the bloc against Russia, and President Zelensky seems to be the right guy at the right time. And hopefully, or at least we're getting educated on that. And Fiona Hill pointed out how the Russians are manipulating us against each other, and hopefully we'll be mature enough to pull back soon. Congressman, thanks so much.
You got it. You got it. Thank you.
You got it. Straight ahead. Impeachment was a hot topic during this week's Democratic debate, but it was the lowest rated debate of the season. It's already tuning out the 2020 race. Diamond and Silk are ready to sound off.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Well, as House Democrats wrapped up a marathon of public hearings, the topic of impeachment took center stage during that Democratic debate. Watch.
Well, first of all, we have a criminal living in the White House.
No one is above the law. We have a constitutional responsibility, and we need to meet it.
We are absolutely going to confront this president for his wrongdoing.
This is impeachable conduct.
Donald Trump doesn't want me to be the nominee. That's pretty clear.
All right, it was the least watched and lowest rated of this election season. So, are voters sick of the impeachment talk? ?
Let's talk to Fox Nation personalities. Diamond and Silk joining us from Diamond and Silk World headquarters. Ladies, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So why do you think the ratings are going down on these Democratic debates?
Because people are tired of hearing the same old for Democrats. They all talk and there's no action. And then when you hear them talking about impeachment, calling our president a criminal, you know what's criminal? When you have these Democrat candidates standing on stage talking about impeaching a duly elected president based off of hearsay, presumptions, and assumptions. That's what's criminal. Okay? And then how you going to impeach a president that have the unemployment levels at an all-time low? Historically at an all-time low. He done brought back jobs. He's giving more money to HBCUs than any other president in history. The Opportunity Zones, the First Step Act, but you all want to impeach that? And then you see Kamala Harris on stage with her Southern accent, upset with the Democrat Party, the party that she represents, because they don't do anything for black people, even though black people are the backbone of the Democrat Party. But black people are tired of being just given a bone. They're tired of you all talking about, oh, I have a plan. Well, why didn't you implement your plan while you were in the Senate? They're tired of you all talking about, oh, I'm a champion for this. I'm a champion for black people. Well, every now and again, a champion do win. Black people are tired of losing in this country. Thank God we have President Donald J. Trump that have us all winning, and that's who we choose to stick with. So that's why we are tuning out these Democrat debates.
Ladies, why do you think it was the least watched and the ratings were not good? Is it because there's no momentum in the Democratic Party and people are mad because they're trying to impeach the president? Or is it because we're about a year away from the election and people aren't excited yet? Yeah.
There is no momentum. You calling the president of the United States a criminal, but if you look on stage and you see quid pro Joe, what about that quid pro Joe? Let's talk about that. There is no momentum and they're liars. People are tired of this foolishness. They pushed this Russia witch hunt. That didn't go anywhere. That failed. Now they pushing this impeachment witch hunt, and we are all tired of it. There is no momentum with what they're doing, and they can just go away. We already have a president.
It's a waste of airtime. They need to go somewhere and sit down because the only person able to beat Donald Trump have not been born yet.
Right. So not Mayor Pete.
No. Pete Buttigieg is not going to be able to beat President Donald J. Trump.
No. Look at the district. Look at the city that he represents. What have he done for black folks there? Absolutely nothing. They can come up with all of these plans, but they hadn't implemented any of these plans. They're not going to do nothing for Americans. They've already shown their hand.
Diamond and Till, thanks so much.
Thanks, ladies. Have a good weekend.
We'll watch you on Fox Nation.
And have a great Thanksgiving as well.
Yes.
All right.
Joe Biden gets confronted about the Obama administration's deportation policies, and he wasn't happy about it.
The music from Midnight Cowboy, we believe.
Oh, look at him dance.
He won an Oscar for it. It's your shot of the morning. Oscar-winning actor Jon Voight dances to the podium to accept the National Medal of Arts in the East Room yesterday.
Wow, they are buddies.
So cute.
The song is from his film Midnight Cowboy. President Trump called Voight one of America's greatest living legends. Certainly one of the greatest living actors, right?
Right. He's Angelina Jolie's dad. The president handed out 8 National Medal of Arts and National Humanities medals, 4 in each category. Alison Krauss in the background, too. She got an award.
Very
Singer.
nice. All right. Meanwhile, Joe Biden has been out and about. He had some press availabilities yesterday, and he also took some questions in town hall. And
in South Carolina, Greenwood, Lander University.
Exactly right. And somebody who was in attendance had a really important question, felt very strongly about the Obama administration and deportation.
Exactly. He asked a question about Obama's record. Joe Biden didn't like it. And listen to his advice.
Because of the deportations were so high under the Obama administration, it is hard for me as an immigrant to trust you. And I want to know, if you were to be president, will you stop deportations on day one through executive action?
No. I will not stop all deportations. I'll prioritize deportations only people who committed a felony or a serious crime, number one. Number two, to compare President Obama to this guy is outrageous.
Is that over those 8 years, there were 3 million people that were deported and separated from their families.
Well, you should vote for Trump. You should vote for Trump.
Wow. So that's stunning. And by the way, one of the things he tried to say is, listen, if you commit a crime, you don't want anyone deported, even if you commit a crime. He said, no, they shouldn't be.
What does that tell you, though? If you look at the broader picture, it was kind of an angry response. He didn't like the question, so he says, fine, don't worry about me, vote for the other guy.
Right.
But to me, when you're running and you're in the right spot and you're you feel confident, wouldn't you at least argue why they should vote for you? Isn't that why you're on the stump? You're out there trying to convince people?
It sounds like what the case he was making is if he is elected president, it would be a continuation of the Obama era.
Right, I understand what the
deportation.
guy was asking him, but the way that the presidential candidate, Joe Biden, responded.
Just remember, it was those restraints that the children were in to separate them from the general population that people like to call cages. There was a surge of unaccompanied minors during the Obama years where people looked to solve that problem as opposed to blame President Obama, but they chose to blame President Trump when people surged at the border. There's a big difference.
Think about this, though. If he becomes the nominee, President Trump is going to use that. Even Joe Biden says, vote for me.
That's right. I wonder if the Biden camp is going to come out with the vote for Trump.
Maybe.
Bumper sticker. Yeah, probably not.
I'd vote to toss to Jillian.
Oh, thank you very much. Good morning, guys. We are following a number of... Sorry, guys, it's official. The Victoria's Secret fashion show is canceled. The move comes after last year's runway show brought the lowest ratings since it first aired in 1995. The lingerie company has been struggling with declining sales. A top executive of Victoria's Secret's parent company has also come under scrutiny for his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Send it back to you.
All right, thank you very much. 22 minutes now before the top of the hour. Janice Dean is outside on Fox Square, where, as you can see, the folks are out.
Look at this
Lots of
crowd
people.
already
Oh,
on
my
a
goodness.
Friday. Incredible. Whose birthday? Birthday right here. What's your name?
Levi Baker,
Where are you from?
Fuquay Marina, North Carolina.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming to Fox and Friends.
Thank
What's
you.
your name?
Annie Baker.
Are you his sister?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to have fun today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, high five. Woohoo! And right, oh, that was a good five. And right here, what's your name?
Rich.
Where are you from?
Phoenix.
Fantastic. What's the birthday?
5-0.
Yeah, baby. It's happening. Let's take a look at the maps real quick. I'll show you what's going on. It is a beautiful day here in New York City. 48. We do have some cold weather moving in back of this cold front that's going to bring the potential for showers, thunderstorms. Could see some snow across portions of the plain states as well. There's your radar. And this is the first of 3 storm systems we're going to watch over the next couple of days that could affect Thanksgiving travel. And if I could, I know that Brian Kilmeade has a book, but I am going to be promoting my book
What
as
do you
well. Yes, at the Miami Book Fair.
Very nice.
That is
No
happening on
way.
Sunday, the 24th at 4:30 in Miami, Florida. Ainsley, you want to come with me?
Yes, warm weather, and we get to meet the folks. I love it.
I love it. And I know Brian has a book tour as well. We're going to talk about that as well.
No, I want to talk about you.
You do?
We
Go
need
to
to
Miami.
all 4 of us need to take our books on the road
I
and
would
do a
love
one
that.
giant book fair.
That's
know.
Make sure it's in Miami.
Would you guys come and see Brian Kilmeade and Steve Ducey and Janice Dean sign their books somewhere? All right, let's do it.
That would be so fun.
Janice, they're thinking we could do it right here because we're
Yes,
all
we
here.
can. Yes, we can.
We don't have to leave town.
By the way, we're going to the Super Bowl in Miami.
We are.
Right? Janice, you could just stay there. We'll meet you there in January.
All right.
I would love that. I'll
All
be
right.
there.
Janice, thank
Janice,
you very
I
much.
prefer you to come home.
Look at all those people outside. Why are they there?
Christmas tree lightings, Thanksgiving next week.
Thanksgiving next week.
Okay.
A lot of people already have the time off. And they're here
Fox
to
and
see
Friends.
the Fox and Friends World headquarters.
Right. On Fox Square.
And watch us interview the president.
Coming up in an hour and 20 minutes, the president's going to call in. In the meantime, let's talk about this. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar unveiling her plan for affordable housing. How affordable? Well, it will cost over $1 trillion taxpayer dollars.
Genius. And she calls it a human right. But is that really the best solution? We're going to discuss it next. Zoom out, pan left and right.
Trillion. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has announced a radical new affordable housing plan.
I'm excited to introduce the Homes for All Act, which will fulfill the promise of a homes guarantee by building 12 million new public housing and private, permanently affordable rental units.
Wow, well, that plan could cost payers about $1 trillion. Joining us right now to discuss is the Vice Chairman of the Center for Urban Renewal and Education, Mark Little, joining us from LA. Mark, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve. It's so good to be with you. I've been upgraded. I'm now the chair.
Well, there you go. Congratulations. So she's talking about affordable housing. The big question is, can we afford it?